my boy.
Yes, sir. Get your popcorn ready. We are in the building. This is T.O.
The other host. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But more importantly, you know what I did today?
What's that?
I traded you.
Oh, of course.
I traded you and I traded everybody on set to bring my boy Ricky Williams here today.
Oh, shit, y'all don't need me then.
You know what I'm saying? Like Ricky Williams, way back in the day, not too far back in the day, right? Pro Bowler, Highsman, all the good stuff. And of course, how I remember you is Mike Ditka trading away his whole NFL draft for Ricky Williams to play in the NFL, the number 5 pick for the New Orleans Saints. Welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you.
Yes.
Good to be here.
And with all that said, I mean, to obviously, like I said, how old were you then?
I was 21.
21?
Wow.
Was that a lot of pressure on you, obviously, to know that an organization basically traded their entire draft class just to get you? That's for a 21-year-old, and obviously, like I said, you're going to an organization, you're looked upon as like the guy to get
Savior.
to get that organization on track. Was that a lot of pressure?
I think maybe I was too young
To understand?
to understand the whole thing. First of all, I was upset that I slid down to the 5th pick.
Wow.
So you were supposed to go higher from what you heard from teams at the time?
Yeah. I mean, I was supposed to be the first running back at least. At least I was the second.
So who
running
went
back.
before you?
Edrin.
Edrin. And so, what do you think? What do you think happened that made you slide down to the 5th pick?
I don't know. It was interesting. Like all the way through college and up until almost like the moment of my last college game, and then I went to the next level. Everything just started to like go downhill.
Really?
You know?
But you had such a great career, though. I mean, collegiate career. So I'm confused. What leading up to that last game? What went wrong, and what happened to where you feel like things went on a down spiral?
At the time, I had no idea because you leave college. I left college as the all-time leading rusher in college football history.
Yeah.
So arguably one of the best players to ever play in college football, and at that age, I just assumed that it would go to the next level and have that kind of success. And on the field, that was fine. It was more of the off the field stuff that I just really wasn't with, and it became so much of a distraction.
So off the field stuff, meaning as in?
It's just everyday life. At least for me, my experience in college, and I think it's because in college you come in as a kid. They call you a kid. You're 18, and then you kind of grow up a lot in college. Mm-hmm. And so I think when I got on campus as just this freshman from California, people, they were cool, and it was like family. And so I was used to that experience, and I went to the next level, and it wasn't like that at all. And I think I was just too naive to realize that it's not like that.
Culture shock, perhaps.
Hell yeah, it was culture shock.
Yeah, okay.
Hell yeah, it was culture shock.
Right.
And so, in hindsight, looking back, I probably would have been one of those guys that would have done much better if I just would have taken a year off after college and just got to travel and explore. Because
that's unusual, though. What
that's why I didn't do it, because it was so unusual. But looking back, it definitely would have been good for me. Because when I was growing up, I didn't have aspirations to be a professional football player.
I'm with you on that.
I just wanted to play college football because I thought college football, and I learned at 7. My mama said, "You're going to college," and I cannot afford it. So she told me I was getting a scholarship. So I kind of knew, like as a kid, I knew that was the trajectory. And then when I got to college, I just did better than I expected. And so for me, it was just the next logical step was to go to the NFL.
Right.
But looking back, I think if I would have taken a year off, traveled, and just got to experience a little bit more, I would have played football. I probably would have come back, and here's what I said. I said, I'm going to play one contract, make enough money so I can do the things that I really want to do. But, I think the assumption is, you guys know, the window is so small, you get that opportunity to, make the most of it.
Right. So it's like, do you think that the 2022 version of the college kids, when they get to sit out maybe their senior year or their junior year and then go to the NFL, so you're rooting for those kids to kind of make those decisions?
I'm rooting for, I think for each kid, they have to make their own decisions. I'm saying for me, it was, because if we take football out of it and we think about what is the purpose of going to college, right? The whole idea is to get some kind of preparation for what you're gonna do later in life.
Education.
Yeah, it's the idea. And I got an education in college. It wasn't, an education that prepared me to do much other than football, but I got an education. And so I realized though, like that education I got didn't prepare me for life. And so prepare me for my life. And the assumption is that preparing for life means you make a lot of money and you do a lot of things. And that's definitely helpful, but we see a lot of people with a lot of money who are not happy.
What to do. Absolutely.
And so what I enjoyed about football was the freedom, the freedom it gave me in the off season. And I definitely loved competing, but the freedom to do all the things that I only dreamed of as a kid and to have those kinds of experiences. And now that I know that, I would have just been more direct and had less of the bullshit to deal with. I just would have said, I'm getting in, doing this contract, I'm gonna give you 5 years and then I'm out.
Yeah.
And I would want guys to do that, because one, it puts you in a different mindset where it's not this conversation of take care of your money. It's not that mindset. It's that I'm doing this for a reason. And so you don't even have to think of protecting your money, because that's just already built in. That I'm building this so that I can do what I really want to do. Right. And even thinking about college, if people start college that way, you can start making plans. Because after I retired, I was like, damn, if I just would have known a little bit more, I could have been prepping all this time to get me ready for what I'm doing next.
Yeah.
And so I just wish I would have taken more of that mindset.
Yeah, because Calvin Johnson retired after 8, 9 years, which is early retirement. Yeah. So I think we'll see a lot more players retire
I think we will.
early.
I think we will.
How did you grow up? I know you mentioned your mom, dad.
So my parents divorced when I was 7, and my dad, he moved to another state. Okay. My parents, they didn't get along, so they had to be like states away from each other. So I was raised by a single mother, but I say my mother was like more of a father than a mother.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so where did your innate ability to be a running back, where did that come from? How did you?
My mom. Running from my mom. For real, I'm not
Dodging the
joking.
couch,
my mom toughened me up. I mean, nice. She like, she toughened me up.
What's toughening you up? Like, I'm from the South. Like,
definition of tough.
We got whoopings. You know what I mean?
We got beatings.
I got beatings.
Yeah, we got beatings.
Yeah, so it wasn't like where we are today, where you have to be careful.
No, there wasn't none of that. And I used to jump around. So my mom, she would sit on me. I mean, she had to come up with like devices and stuff.
Today, you
sit on, you go get the spoon.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, whatever. But
you got CPS that'll get you today. Like I said, I got whoopings with
anything.
Yeah.
No, but honestly though,
switches.
I don't whoop my kids, but I will say this: like my mom whooping me, it taught me one valuable lesson. Just take like if you mess up, just take it and keep it moving. Right? Mm-hmm. Don't cry. Don't make excuses. You know you did something, take it. You know the rules. You break the rules, take it and keep it moving.
Is that what you tell your kids now too?
Well, here's what I tell my kids, because I don't touch my kids. Sometimes I'll yell and they act like I did something to them, and I'm like,
I didn't even touch you.
I'm just like, no, but here's what I tell them, right? When they look at me and say, "Why are you yelling?" I say, "When I said it softly, 5 times.
Come on,
5 times, nothing happened. When I said it loud one time, it worked. So if you don't want me to speak loud, then do it when I speak softly." I just try to speak to them like so they're in my head and they understand where I'm coming from. Right. So it's not a surprise. Not a surprise.
So Ricky, you have so many accolades, man. Dope Award winner, Highsman.
Yeah.
Obviously, best collegiate careers, as you mentioned. 2,124 yards, 28 touchdowns.
In one season.
Dude, this is remarkable. You come from a breed of running backs that went to Texas. You got Earl Campbell, Cedric Benson. Of all the success, and like I said, I know everybody has kind of spoiled you, retired, came back. Of everything that you've accomplished, you've achieved, what makes Ricky happy, and what is success for you?
That's a good question. Success for me is just maturity. It's just like keep reaching like my full potential. Just keep expanding and growing. That's success, and it's not a static thing. Because I found whenever I was like content with static success, the world kept going and I got left behind. So success for me is just keep it moving.
Yeah. Because again, some people say the success is not about, you know, your accolades, it's about the depths that you come from.
Yeah.
And again, if you're getting better and better and better, like I'm
Exactly.
successful. Absolutely.
Exactly.
Because I know, I mean, looking at you and you've spoken about just being free, like, you know, obviously just talking about like if you would have taken some time off to go off and do whatever, it's like freedom. What is it about freedom is that attracts you to want to explore more and I guess put you at a place where you're able to be who you are?
You know, I think when I was a kid, like, you know, in school we would hear about freedom and we read about freedom, and even there's some music that talked about freedom. But when I looked around the people in my life, no one was acting like they were free. And so it just became a thing of like, we talk about it, but it doesn't seem like anyone's actually doing anything to move towards it. And so I was intrigued by it. So I said, it's just something that was always in my mind, and just a sensitivity to the feeling of being put in a box. Right. And I just don't do well with that.
Don't do well in a box.
At all. Some people do, but
Even
I get in
you had to you being a running back, you had to run in that box.
Yeah, but I had to get out of it though. That's the whole thing. I'm trying to come out that box.
So metaphorically, is that where you feel like, you know, you're going, where you were? You're sort of like in a box, and you wanted to get out of that?
Well, I think we're all born inside of a box. You know, whether it's our race or our gender or our parents, or we're born inside of a box and we're trying to find ourselves inside that box. And I just, you know, because especially the way I grew up, like that box, it wasn't comfortable. It didn't.
Is that what?
It didn't feel good.
Is that what drove you, I guess, to use marijuana for medicinal purposes or pain management?
Well, I mean, now that you say it like that, I use it to get out of the box.
To escape.
Right. To get out of the box.
Again, it really kind of, for me, it kind of resonates to what you've been speaking of, just being free, being free.
That's exactly, because, you know, when one of my idols, Bob Marley, said it.
Okay.
You know?
Okay.
None but ourselves can free our mind.
What was that?
None but ourselves, we have to free our own selves. And like the thing that I think limits us is our own mind and our own thinking. And when I started smoking, I realized I stopped limiting myself so much. I allow myself to think bigger thoughts.
See, you need to start smoking, dog.
You know what? Well, now that we got a brand coming out, Ricky,
I got gifts.
He got gifts.
I got
again,
gifts.
I'm gonna go for. He won the Highsman.
Yeah.
Right. The weed brand is called Highsman, but it's Highsman, which is a great name, by the way.
Thank you.
Okay, I get it.
He a little slow. You got, you know what I'm saying? Let's talk about how this.
Weed in here. He's gonna take you through all of it.
Hey, let's talk about it. That's what I'm talking about.
First time.
Okay.
Get your papers.
Get your papers ready, huh? Get your papers ready.
I don't even know how to open this.
Yeah. So tell me how this came about. What was your idea behind it?
Ooh, boy, I'm already. Ooh, I smell this through the packaging. Ricky, what you got up in here?
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah. So, you know, it really, the idea came a long time ago. I was visiting the dispensary and somebody asked me to sign an autograph. And I signed my autograph, and then they said, can you write Highsman on it? And I started to write, and they said, no, spell it like this. And so I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And so I wrote it, and it just kind of stuck. And every once in a while, I might sign something like that. And then COVID hit. And I started doing a lot of like autograph signings because a lot of the young players, the teams weren't letting them travel, and the old players weren't traveling because of their health. And so people started having me sign cannabis inscriptions. So I'll write my name, number 34, and then I'll write like smoke weed every day, or puff puff run, or hitting holes, smoking bowls. They were coming up with it.
Puff pad, puff pad.
They were coming up with a whole bunch of stuff. And so
I like this. I want to get high right now.
I'm telling you, I noticed that people just kept calling me to do more and more signings. And I was like, you know, I started doing the math and realizing there's not that many Ricky fans. These are people that enjoy just having a football helmet.
Smoke fans.
Exactly, smoke fans.
Smoke fans.
And so I realized, you know, that there's a market out there, and people are looking for ways to combine their love of cannabis and their love of sports.
Right,
absolutely.
And, you know, at least for me, when I was growing up, my coaches always said, if you smoke pot, you're going to be a loser.
The perception of what it was 20, 25 years ago.
Because the thing is, I mean, as a kid, don't do drugs.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
This was the message we all had to deal with. And so I'm taking this opportunity to really create a culture. We call ourselves a cannabis lifestyle brand. And there isn't a sports and cannabis lifestyle. There's not. It's not a culture. And so this is what we're bringing. And we're doing everything we can to bring the cannabis culture and the sports culture together.
That's
Our tagline is Spark Greatness. No?
Spark greatness.
Spark greatness.
Spark greatness.
Fired up. That's what he's saying.
Exactly.
He's saying
and
fired up.
then think about it. If every time someone is lighting up, they have that thought of like greatness.
Mm-hmm.
This is very, very creative, man. I
Yeah.
mean, whoever's doing your packaging, marketing, branding, this is awesome, man. I mean, it even made me want to get high. I ain't smoked I ain't smoked nothing every day when I was in the league, dog.
Every day I get
high on the memory,
on the memory.
See, and even the packaging. You know,
So take me through the pregame, the halftime, the postgame. Is it all the same or
no? So you know, in the industry or in the cannabis
we're
space,
not familiar with.
Okay,
so
I can break it down. Okay.
Yeah, you're talking to two non-smokers.
Yeah. So as people enter, the first thing they hear is I'm sure you heard the terms sativa, indica, hybrid. Okay.
Right.
So what those generally mean is they're referring to the effect. So sativa is more like uplifting, like it gets you in your head a lot.
Okay.
So if you're kind of already an anxious person, probably a sativa will just make you more anxious.
Okay. Indica is more of a downer.
It's more, as people say, downer is more in your body. It just more gets you in your body.
Chill or more
so if you're an
relaxed.
athlete, when you, like a indica will make you want to stretch or just get into your body more.
A yogi.
Yes, exactly.
I'm with you, dog. I'm
Exactly.
already high.
Exactly. And so some people will say like a sativa is and we call it a pregame, because again, we're bringing the sports theme, right? It's more of a daytime experience, okay? And the indica we call the post game is more recovery, right?
Okay.
Either your mind's racing or you're ready to go to bed, you can't get to sleep. It's more of a chill.
Out.
Yes. And then the hybrid is at mid-range.
Halftime joint.
Yeah, the halftime is at mid-range.
Okay.
Yeah. And so the pregame is a hoodie, kind of, you know, like getting ready for the game.
Yep, got the hoodie on.
The halftime is a jersey, and then the postgame we got the Letterman jacket.
That's clean. Yeah, that's some good packaging and good marketing. Is it just you with the brand, or do you have a whole team that help you put this whole thing together?
Well, like you guys know, you're not going anywhere without a team.
Absolutely.
And so really that was the priority in launching this brand was putting together a team. And so I went out and recruited a CEO, and we just started building the team around, because you know I know what I know in running a cannabis company that's not my specialty.
They know what they know.
Exactly. I create the culture, and because I've been in the industry for several years, I met so many different people that the whole time I was just recruiting, you know, just thinking in the back of my mind, you know, when I'm ready to do my thing, I'd love to have this person. I'd love to have this person.
Then you go get them.
And then I went to go get them. And you know, when you're building something like this, something that's new and that's interesting, it's not difficult to attract talent. And so it's been fun. And
attract talent. I mean, what do you mean attract talent? Because I know if I'm thinking shit, if I smoke some weed, I might attract some real talent. So what talent are you talking about?
Yeah, I mean, all kinds of talent.
Oh yeah.
One talent leads to the other kind of talent.
Right.
Okay, that's what I'm talking about. I might need to get.
Tell me if this is you at work.
Yes.
Okay. You have a great job.
100%.
You have a great job then.
100%. 100%.
Oh man.
Because it's like,
and this ain't for everybody either.
I'm about to say, that's what I was gonna say.
It's not
Right.
for everybody.
It's not for everybody.
Right. But for the athletes that are allowed to smoke, because again, how's the pro sports fame, I guess, are they able to smoke yet right now? How's that whole thing going?
Testing, obviously, there's testing. Obviously, like I said, you got heavily fined for medicinal marijuana use or what have you. So how did this translate now to today's game? And obviously with all the laws in certain states, some states it's legal, some it's not.
Well, you know, so especially when I got in trouble with the NFL, it really was just a one-way conversation. This is bad, nobody's doing it. But slowly over the past 20 years, the conversation has changed drastically. And so even then, you know, and you guys know, players were smoking, they just weren't talking about it.
Yeah. Right.
But now it's just becoming, you know, legal in multiple states, and there's not such a stigma. Players aren't coming public about it, but they're hiding their smoking less. And as a brand, and from my business mind, like I'm waiting for those first round of players that are ready to be real and come out and share their story. Right. Because you know, to me, the most important thing is not to push anything in either direction, but just be real and tell your story. Because my thing is the people who we look up to, who are achieving in whatever they're doing, right? We've been like getting upset with them for using cannabis. And I'm saying if these people are achieving at a level that we're impressed with them and they're using cannabis, shouldn't we be asking them?
Come on,
like how are you doing this? How are you using it? And that's where I'm trying to get the conversation.
I think a lot of people have been smoking this and they're freeing their minds.
Yeah.
Free your mind.
I think they're freeing their minds.
So let me ask you this: does it bother you that that perception was there on you 20 years ago, and now it's like it's okay?
It doesn't bother me at all, because if there weren't people like myself who put their neck out there,
Yeah. You're the trailblazer.
we wouldn't have we would have got there, but it would have taken us a lot longer to get there. And my thing is not about trying to push anything. It's just really the deeper lesson is whoever you are, don't be ashamed of it. Just be yourself. Just because other people tell you it's not right and it's not good.
And, yeah, that's a good question. I think there's some parallels that as the perception, how people perceive you. Obviously, he asked you how, would you do anything different based on that? And so for me, it was the same way. The way that I played the game and I celebrated, it was frowned upon. And now look at it.
Yeah.
It's being embraced, just as what you're doing.
Yeah.
I have a question. Now that, when you smoke, which is your favorite?
The Jesus Skittlesworth, the pregame.
Okay.
Pre-game. What's the name of that?
It's Jesus Skittlesworth.
Jesus Skittlesworth. Again, I'm not familiar with all the names.
Mary,
But the name. This is our convention. So.
But I like it because there's creativity
to
with
it.
everything
Absolutely.
that you're doing.
Exactly. The halftime is the Ken Jiffy Jr.
Ken Jiffy.
And the post game, that's Barry Bonds, and we also got Cherry Rice.
You know what you should call
That's
it?
a home run. That's like
it
getting a home
is.
run.
It is a home
You
run.
should call it Barry Bongs.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, you see what I? Yeah, you feel me?
See, we need to put you on the naming team.
Bring me in there. Give me a little consult.
That's what we do. We get the genetics, because cannabis comes in strains, and so they all have like parents, right? When you create new genetics,
like
they have
the
parents.
COVID thing.
Exactly. Different strains.
Right,
Exactly.
different strains.
So we get the parentage, we get the parent strains, and then we look at the flavors and we look at the effect, and we come together as a team and say, where can we find some sports themes names that really fit here. And so that's how we came up with.
So you said Jesus Skittlesworth is your favorite.
That's my favorite.
Sativa.
Yeah.
So obviously, like I said, throughout your career, we've all made some mistakes and poor choices. When you're smoking this, does it take you just take you down memory lane, and you was like, man, I wish I would have done this, I wouldn't have done that.
When you first start, you go back, but if you keep smoking, you clean up all that stuff, and then you start just reviewing on the day of, dang,
So it's a daily now. It's like
it becomes a daily review. You just review your day, and you think, okay, like what things did I do that I wish I would have done better?
Okay, cool. Speaking of that,
Yeah.
So you get drafted, unconventional. You had Master P as your first
agent, yeah.
Your agent.
Shout out to P.
Yeah. Nah. And then you transition and you sign with Lee Steinberg.
Yes.
Is this one of those moments where you feel like you're smoking and it's like, man, what was I thinking? Or why did I do this? And Master P, like I said, mastermind. We've had him on the show, did his thing. What went into, obviously, you taking a different approach?
Because the different approach is what I'm on this planet, I feel, is what I'm on this planet to do. Because if everyone goes the same way, no one even knows what other paths are even out there. That's what a trailblazer is
You're
for.
blazing your own trail.
Exactly.
Trailblazer.
Exactly. Because otherwise, I'm following in other people's, and I tried to do that, and it just wasn't for me.
And then people are saying, oh, he's weird, this and that and the other. Does that affect you? Does it, you know what I mean?
You want to be weird. You want to be the oddball.
I almost take it
That's
as
what
a
I want.
compliment, because
Absolutely.
it just means that I'm not like everybody else. And all the people that appreciate me, what they appreciate most about me is that when they talk to me, they get a different way of looking at things.
That's real.
Yeah.
Again, I want to fit out. I don't want to fit in.
Exactly.
And again, that goes back to the
It's
whole
like a
box
snowflake.
thing.
My mama used to tell me, God don't make junk, right? We're all made unique.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I know, like I said, I just found this out too, but you left the NFL and went and played in Canada for a little bit. So at that moment, especially having, Highsman behind you, high NFL draft pick, and people like, okay, now he's playing in Canada, so is he a bust? Like, no, were you doing that to get back into the NFL, or were you doing that just to kind of prove to yourself more on what you were?
I was doing it just to keep it moving. So this was my second suspension. It was a year-long suspension. And my agent, Lee, called and said, I got a call from the Argonauts, and they want you to come to Toronto. And I said, hell.
I'm out.
I said, hell
I'm on the way.
I said, hell no. I'm not. I said, I am
Not doing
quit-
it?
I am not going to Canada.
Right.
And that was the thought. Like, what am I doing? You know? And then about 2 months went by and I started thinking, okay, what am I doing? And at the time I was living in Northern California and I was teaching yoga at a retreat called an ashram.
Okay.
And my yoga teacher, she said, you can't just like sit around here and do nothing. You got to do something. And she said, we have a big yoga center in Toronto. And so if you want to like go up there and play, you can get in the regular teaching schedule so that you're actually keeping your life moving.
Okay.
And so it was, I took her advice and I said, you're right. And so I went up there and I played and I taught yoga and I thoroughly enjoyed myself up there. Because up there, you can only have a certain number of Americans on the team.
Right.
And so all the Americans, they all kind of live together and it's like, it felt just like college.
That's brought you back home to Texas University.
Yeah, and so it just helped me play the game for the love of the game. You know, and
Not the pressures and all that.
because like even the coaching staff, like when we do our game plan, like they'll talk to the players and they'll say like, "What do you want to do?" And so I just got to be more a part of the whole thing, and it just got me back to the roots of the game and why I love to play it. And I think it helped me, play another several years in the NFL.
Right, yeah. So again, when you came back, like, did it rejuvenated you a little bit more, or you're like, I'm still kind of taking this year by year?
So actually, before I came back, I failed another drug test, and so I was suspended another 8 months. So I didn't come right back. So in those 8 months, I actually moved to Boston, and I
You're like a nomad.
Yeah, I moved to Boston, and I did 6 months of intensive psychotherapy. So I met with the therapist. We met for 6 months, 1 hour a day for 5 days a week, and because I was in a point where I was like, I keep like failing these drug tests, and I keep telling myself, I want to like end this thing in a way where I can walk away with some dignity, but I keep getting stuck. And I want to talk to someone to help understand like, where am I getting stuck? And so in those 6 months, I got so much clarity not only about football, but where football fit in the larger picture of my life. And I remember the most powerful thing that happened to me in those 6 months is I was Dr. Gunderson. I was sitting there talking to Dr. G, and I realized, football is nice, but what I would really love to be doing is sitting in that chair doing what you're doing.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And so that's when I decided I got to go back to school, I'm going to get my degree and move in a direction where I can help people. And that's what I've been doing
So
ever
to
since.
walk away from the game, how you wanted to walk away from the game, and you're saying to yourself, I keep getting stuck because you're failing these drug tests. So where in there did it click? I'm like, okay, in order for me to do B or C, I got to do A. And A was obviously, I'm thinking, you got to stop smoking.
It never. See that to me that's a very limited way of looking at it, because if we look at someone and we say the first thing that's wrong across the board, and I'm going to say this loud and clear, that football players should not be smoking. That right now is 100% bullshit. 100% bullshit.
That they should not be smoking.
I'm saying that there's any kind of regulations that prevent football players from smoking. That is the biggest bullshit in the whole entire world, especially considering what they do give us to take care of ourselves. It doesn't make any sense.
The drugs is way worse than they give
It's not
us.
even, and to me, like you could say like money or whatever, but for me, I'm talking about dignity and I'm talking about quality of life. And those are two things that I know that I held on to. Right. And so it's about like who I was and the path that I was walking. And it was really a difficult path and we all have to walk it, is what the world says you should be doing and what God or your heart or whatever you want to call it says you should be doing. And sometimes when you're following this, on the outside, it looks like you're failing horribly. And sometimes when you're killing on the outside, inside, it's empty and it's dead and you're hurting so much. And so that's life. And anyone to me and you guys know this, anyone that really wants to live to their fullest, you got to walk through that shadow of death. You got to walk that path and try to find your spot.
Right. So, I mean, and obviously, I mean, weed is not a performance. It's not a performance-enhancing drug.
Right.
What do you say about just happened 2020 Olympics? Sha'Carri Richardson, she gets suspended for the use of marijuana. What are your thoughts? What are your takes on that? What did you think when this happened?
Well, obviously, it's unfortunate because a lot of people work their whole lives to have a chance to
Participate in the Olympics. I
Yeah.
mean, this is like the best thing. I mean, to be an individual, to be an athlete, and to perform in front of your country.
So that's one level. The other level is, because this happened, this is allowing her to be something more than just an athlete. Yeah. And also the bigger picture is because of what happened, a lot of people came forward and it pushed the conversation in a positive direction. And my hope is that she doesn't feel bad about this, that she realizes that, that there's something bigger to this. And my hope is that she'll have another opportunity. She's young, so God willing, she has another opportunity. But in my journey, because once I was with everyone else. When I retired, I was sitting there saying, like, did I really just give up everything for this? I was wrestling with that. And so I had some questions that I had to answer for myself. And so I started to do some research. I started to learn. And I learned like how we got here, in that, pretty much all of the rules, the regulations, laws that are anti-cannabis were all racially motivated. All of them. All of them. And so for me, and maybe the NFL is not educated, but even the NFL's drug program. When Bill Parcells came to Miami, we sat and had lunch, and he told me, he said, I'm probably the main reason that the NFL drug program was in place. And essentially, it was a racist program. And so when I watch the games and I see racism in the end zone, and they're still suspending, or not suspending anymore, but still punishing and fining players for cannabis use, I'm like, come on.
Contradicting.
It's contradicting, and yeah. So, but again, all of us are conditioned and we grew up in it, so we were just like, yeah, this is bad, we're not supposed to be doing it. But when you really look underneath the hood, you see, wait a minute.
Right. Now, for like the Josh Gordon going back and forth, right? Is there anything that you would like to say to him or the NFL? Like, because again, it seems like there's something there that's wrong.
Just open your eyes, because you have to. If the spirit of the drug program is to keep players safe, and the spirit of the drug program is to take care of the players, that's not what it's doing. So just the spirit of the program, it's more destroying people's lives than it is actually helping people. I don't think you're gonna find one person, not one, in the hundreds of people that have been in the NFL drug program that says the program helped them. Not one.
Just temporarily for their benefit.
For the NFL's benefit to get their money away and blah, blah, blah.
And even when I got into the drug program, and part of the drug program is you have to sit with a therapist once a week. And the whole aim of the therapist, his assumption was, it's hard being black, there's a lot of stress, but if you smoke, you're gonna ruin your life, so we gotta make sure that you're not stressed and you don't smoke. And to me, I was like, I don't really agree with that assessment. So we're kind of starting
Let me assess.
Yes. And so just, again, it wasn't it wasn't taking care of the players. And that's my big issue.
So let's go back to Sha'Carri. And for our listeners, people that are going to be, watching this, can you explain, because you're an experienced user, and for people, obviously, like I said, there was a lot of people that came, to her defense, and there's those ignorant people out there like, oh, well, she knew it was a rule, she shouldn't have done it, and then obviously, what is it? IOC is the ones that suspended her. Are there any benefits for her to partake and do what she does as a sprinter? Are there any benefits, whether it's pre-game, halftime, post-game, to her winning a race?
So if we're using,
is there a competitive edge?
If we're using like, to me, anything you do as an athlete, right? Most of what we do as an athlete, regardless if it's legal or illegal, is trying to give us a competitive edge.
Yes,
that's like saying if someone sleeps for 8 hours instead of 4 hours, that's gonna give a competitive. If someone eats better, that's gonna give them a competitive edge. And so it's like, where do you draw the line? Like, that's why I'm like, where do you draw the line? Because you can say,
because you're considering this something illegal. This is considered a drug.
But again, because of racist policies, like, again, we live in two worlds, and I try to keep clear, right? There's an outer world that I have to navigate if I want to keep myself free. Right. But there's an inner world I have to navigate if I want to keep myself free. And it's finding that balance between both. And everyone has to, wherever they are, everyone has to figure out how to find that balance.
So is one pregame, halftime, if I take it, is it gonna make me run faster or anything?
So here's how it could make you run faster. Okay?
This is what I want to know.
Here's how it could make you run faster. A generic situation, okay? Somebody who has in their mind limited thinking and they think because I am a certain age that I can't run fast. Someone who has that thought, right? That thought will create them running slower than they actually can. All right, let's say we sit down and they smoke a little bit and we talk, right? And they allow their imagination to go and they realize, maybe that's not true, okay? Maybe that's not true, I wanna see. And then next day, the next week or whatever, they run and they notice that they're running a little bit faster. Because we have to see how, we don't appreciate how much our mind limits what we can show up at.
Yes.
And so as you open the mind, you don't know what's gonna come out of there. And I think that's what scares people.
Did you smoke before games?
Because back then, I mean, if I was playing now, I probably would. But back then I was in the drug program, so I had to really ration how much I was smoking. And in order to be able to smoke in a game, you gotta smoke enough to get your tolerance up. And I wasn't chiefing like that.
So it was like, because again, I don't smoke, but I've seen some dudes, I'm like, this dude's high right now.
Yeah.
Do you remember some guys that you saw in the huddle, you was like, I know you high right, because you would know the look.
Well, I mean, I think there is maybe a couple of linemen that could do it, but that's tough.
Okay.
D linemen could do it. D linemen can get away with it because they're eating. You know, they just gotta remember the gap. They just gotta remember the gap. They just gotta remember. DBs can do it. And receivers can do it, but other positions, it's tough. It's just like, again, unless you have your tolerance up. If your tolerance is up, you can function at that level. But if it's not, you're gonna miss something.
Yeah, don't try it for the first time.
And even people trying for the first time, I say one hit, just one. Just take one and put it down and just enjoy
Well,
it.
let's spark one then. Let's spark one. Shit.
I ain't gonna spark nothing but that popcorn
What
over
you
there.
think I need? Sativa? What you think I need?
It's the middle of the day, yeah, I would say that pregame.
Man, and he gonna be in that chair till midnight.
Just one hit, he'll be good.
There it is.
Nice.
Well, shoot, well, you being a running back, you know, we ain't gonna let you get out of here without you mentioning your top 5 running backs. And again,
all time?
I want you to give us your top 5 running backs of all time, right? No specific order, just your top 5. You can be in it, not in it, don't matter, right?
So, no specific order, but number 1 by far is Jim Brown.
That's
and I will
okay.
tell, and I told this to my son, anyone that wants to play football, specifically the running back position, there's like a 45-minute highlight of all of Jim Brown's carries on YouTube. Watch it.
Watch Jim Brown?
Okay.
Watch it.
Jim Brown, legend.
And how many years? He didn't play a lot of years.
He played 7.
7 years.
Watch
7
it.
years.
Oh, special. So
absolutely.
he's 1. All right, the rest not in order. So when I was in college, before every game, my senior year, I would watch Barry Sanders. Barry Sanders
absolutely.
senior highlight film at Oklahoma State.
Oklahoma
He's
State,
sick.
absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, after those 2. So he didn't play very long, but he's who I modeled my game after the most with Bo Jackson.
Bo Jackson.
The combination of power and speed
Yes.
and being an intimidator from the running back position that can hit that can go all the way.
Absolutely.
That was like that's what I was aiming for. Okay.
Bo knows.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So that's
Okay, that's 3 right there. Okay.
all day.
Adrian Peterson.
All day.
A-Deezy.
All day, Adrian
When
Peterson. We gotta get him on the show.
when he's coming downhill and hitting it,
You don't want it.
hey.
No, you don't want that smoke.
It's like he's moving at a different speed. Moving at a different speed.
Okay, that's 4 right there. You got one more you want to
Jim
throw in there.
Brown.
Top 5 of all-time running backs.
Take my time with this one.
You know, again, you
so
got
we
your
got-
Walters
so we got-
of the
we-
world.
so we
you
got
got your
Jim
Eric
Brown.
Dickersons of the world.
I gotta go with sweetness.
Okay.
And again, because I think a lot of our favorite players are just the time we grew up in. And the time I
Absolutely.
was coming up, Sweetness was doing his thing. So more towards the end of his career, but just the way he played.
Is that why you wore 34?
That I wore because of Bo.
Because of Bo.
Because of Bo.
awesome.
But something about Sweetness's game is he had that punch, right? That idea. Because to me, coaches told us this a long time ago. You're either the hammer or the nail.
Yep.
And that's real.
Yeah.
Especially on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We should let people know where they can find Highsman, the product, if you will.
Yeah, where they can find you, where they
website,
can
or
find
where's it being sold,
this.
online, all that.
Yeah, so our merch is online at Highsman.co.
Okay.
Highsman.co.
And that's Highsman.
And I tell people, it's not
.co.
about a trophy, it's about getting high.
Yeah. Hi, man.
Insta. Yeah. Highsman Official.
Highsman Official on the IG.
On
Okay.
the IG, and personally, I'm at Williams.
Okay, there it is, ladies and
Yeah, you
gentlemen.
can check us out.
Check it out,
Man.
man. Yeah, so again, going back to the draft with the Saints, and again, Mike Ditka obviously believing in your skill set at that point. What was it like playing for a coach like that who literally gave everything up for you?
You know, unfortunately, it was only a year because
Right.
that season did not go well. Hell of a coach. Like, as far as a player's coach, and I think you guys have been there, right? The player, most of the time, the coaches that have played before, they get it, right? The ones that haven't, they feel like we're video games or like chess pieces.
Right. Yeah.
And Ditka was cool. He just was cool. He knew the game, and he reminded me of Saban in this way that they don't get so caught up in the X's and O's. They get up in more of your mentality and the fact that you play hard.
Yeah.
And to me, I can play for those coaches all day long. You know, I think at least in the NFL with the Saints, I think Ditka's downfall was kind of that old school attitude of just get your boys together to coach and you can win. Because it's one of those things where a lot of the players didn't respect
The rest of the staff.
Yeah. They respected coach, but a lot, especially on offense, they didn't respect the staff.
Do you pay attention to what's going on in coaching today with the Brian Flores thing and all that? So again, compared to the Ditka stuff, because again, we see the same thing, right? We know the head coaches, they're bringing their boys, right? And how can NFL players or even better coaches get into these positions if our boy's not going to hire us?
Yeah. Well, I mean, what I said is if the NFL is really serious about having more diversity in the league, they need to make a mandate that at least 2 or 3 teams are owned by minorities.
I like that.
Because I can appreciate, like, to me, a good example, and I could be stepping out of bounds here, but just think the cultural differences. Like, you know, one of the things that came out was Stephen Ross, you know, talking to Brian Flores about throwing games.
Absolutely.
Okay? And from my understanding, like the wealthy, rich white people, that's the way they think, right? But that's not the way that we think, right? And so this mismatch, if you're an owner, you want to have a coach that thinks the way that you think. That you're on the same page.
On the same page.
Exactly. And you know, the Rooney rule, the only team that has hired a black coach has been the Steelers. And so, I think if we want to change, it needs to start with ownership.
Absolutely. We're trying to get our $5 billion so we can go get a team.
Exactly.
We're about $5 billion short right now.
Yeah.
Right.
But to me, I think that's how it should happen. Players should get together and say, like, we can do it better.
Yeah, I
we
agree.
can.
Well, maybe you sell enough Heisman,
You ain't
get
lying.
them billions,
Hey, it's coming. It's coming.
and buy us a team.
Yeah,
There
it's
it
coming.
is.
Let's keep this conversation
Just bring me
going.
on as a consultant.
There it is. Well, shoot. Well, we gonna end the show with T.O. blazing up.
I mean,
Let's go. I know you don't know how. I want to see this. I want to see you choke. Literally.
Is this really about to happen?
It might happen.
I don't even know how to light this.
We go find out.
Is this really about to happen?
This is what we do on Get Your Popcorn Ready.
No, I can't. I can't do it. I can't do it.
There it is.
Get your popcorn ready. Yeah.
Everybody was ready too. They had that popcorn ready.
Everybody had their popcorn ready. I can't do it.
Everybody here was leaning in too.
I can't do it. I can't do it.
There
To each
it
his
is.
own. It just ain't for me.
Already.